Sukhasana, or easy pose. Sit on the edge of a block. This will help relax and open the hips. Fold one shin in front of the other, lengthening up through the crown of the head to create length and comfort in the spine. Here with the palms, you may like to turn them up, create a mudra, or turn them face down. The modifications are to loosen the shoelace, extend one leg or the other, remove the block, come to your easy pose. Sukhasana is a great one to begin the class. Use props and modifications always. Balasana, or child's pose. Our goal for this pose is to bring the sitting bones to the heels and the forehead to the floor. To do so, many muscles have to lengthen: the extensors of the spine, the glutes, the piriformis, and other rotators. Variations include widening of the knees, stacking the hands, or using props to create comfort by placing a bolster between the thighs that the torso and the head drape over the bolster. If challenging to sit on the feet, use a eye pillow or a cushion under the feet. Or you may like to roll up a small towel. Other variations include mudras with the hands. Savasana, or corpse pose. Often the Savasana, the limbs are carefully placed to be symmetrical when viewed from the outside. Now this can conflict with the body's kinesthetic feedback because what looks symmetrical isn't always what feels symmetrical. So use props to create comfort and focus on the inner balance of your body, the inner peace coming through you. Tadasana, or mountain pose. Nothing lasting can be built on a shaky foundation. This may be why Tadasana is considered by many yoga traditions to be the starting point of an asana practice. It's interesting that this pose is almost identical to the anatomical position, the starting reference point for the study of movement and anatomy. Uttanasana, standing forward fold. This helps reduce tension, stress, and fatigue, and also calms the mind. Many people experiencing tightness in the back of the legs sometimes pull themselves downward by using the muscles in the hip flexion, which is why we have to offer many modifications in Uttanasana. You may like to use the arms and come into a more dangling position. Flex the knees, take hold behind the thighs, which creates comfort, or come into a semi-Uttanasana, whatever feels best for your body. Utkatasana, or chair pose. Stand with your feet close together or hip distance. Bend the knees to sit back and then sweep the arms up. The knees are very mobile in this position because they are partly flexed. Using the hamstrings to draw the sits bones forward or using the psoas to lift the pubic bone can prevent tipping of the pelvis too far forward. Use a wall as a variation, or use props here to help strengthen the thighs. Maintain long deep breaths while engaging oxygen-hungry muscles. Virabhadrasana 2, or Warrior 2. Stand against the long edge of your mat, turning out your front toes to the short edge and the back foot to about a 45-degree angle to protect the knee. Inhale as you lift the arms. Now the arms don't need to be in line with the shoulders. What is important is that you draw the belly in to protect the back and create length up through the crown of the head. Modifications vary here depending on the joint articulation of the hips. You may like to shorten the stance or widen the stance, but have a play around to see what feels good in your body. Palms up to receive energy, or we may like to wrap, twist, turn, have fun, and play with this beautiful pose, which means fierce, mythical warrior. Utthita Parshvakonasana, extended side angle pose. From here, rest your elbow on the knee and extend your arm way overhead. We want to achieve creating space between the hip joint and the shoulder without collapsing forward. So draw that shoulder back. You may like to modify by taking the hand on the hip if that's too much for the shoulder. Another variation is taking the foot to the floor. Encourage your students to breathe deep here. Or, if they're feeling like a challenge, coming into a bind. Utthita Trikonasana. In this pose, the weight of the torso falls mostly over the front leg. Because the front knee is extended, the action in this pose is shifted from the eccentric contraction of the quads to keep the knee from bending too deeply, to the balance of action around the joint that creates a clear pathway of support without any hyperextending of the knee. Ardha Chandrasana, half moon. From Warrior 2, step the back foot in slightly. Bring your front hand to the front thigh, and then begin to extend the arms. Keep your eyes on the floor for balance. Take one hand to hip or touch down with the back foot. Vrikshanasana, tree pose. There's many variations to this asana, so choose one that suits you, your mood, and your energy for today. This is quite a complex pose because it creates and requires a lot of stabilization of the muscles. When we take the arms up overhead, the thoracic movements of the breath might encounter more resistance in this position. In addition, the high center of gravity tends to produce a stronger stabilization. Prasarita Parottanasana, wide stance, forward bend. Hanging upside down, this pose would have to be the most accessible inversion in all of the yoga practice. The more firmly the legs can create support, while at the same time allowing the pelvis to freely rotate forward at the hip joint. The more relaxed the torso and breathing can be, this inversion provides such a mild traction. It releases the spine while reversing the usual action of the breath. There's many variations here. To move your arms, to create more length through the hamstrings, to use props. Turn your toes inwards to create an amazing feel. Garudhanasana, eagle pose. Now this pose in itself can be quite complex. You can begin by intertwining the arms, palms facing each other. Inhale as you lift your elbows to shoulder height and draw the thumbs now away from the nose. Sit the hips back, bringing the weight more into the heels and crossing one leg over the other. If you'd like to come to the full bind, then tuck the foot behind the calf. Rather, this is quite complex. You can then take the foot down so the big toes are touching the mat, and this will help balance the SI joint of the pelvis. Virabhadrasana 3, Warrior 3. From Warrior 1, pivot onto the ball of the foot. Bring your hands to Anjali Mudra to keep your balance centered. Your option is to stay or to lift the back leg, maintaining balance and stability through the ankle, knee, and hip. Be mindful that the pelvis stays turned towards the mat, and this will help with diaphragmic breathing. The option is to extend the arms way overhead. In this very challenging posture, it's important to breathe deep. Uddha Prasrita Ika Padasana, Standing Splits Pose. From Warrior 3, tripod the hands down and kick the back leg up. Lengthen the front body as you fold over the supporting leg. Your option is to bend into the back leg. Use props as stability. The advanced option or variation here is to take hold of the ankle. Return to forward fold. Virabhadrasana 1, Warrior 1 pose. Here, lunge the foot forward in between the hands. Position the back foot down to anchor the low center of gravity in the body. Lift the chest, raise your arms overhead, freeing up the body to breathe. Here in this very freeing pose, check your stance. You may prefer the longer stance, or you may prefer to adjust the back foot to suit the shape of your hips. This will also change the mechanics of the breathing as you move the arms and the torso with your variations. Uddita Ashwa Sanchalasana, High Lunge Pose. Starting from downward facing dog, lunging the foot forward into a lunge, keeping the back heel up and softening into that back knee if needed. Hands to thighs to stabilize balance and soften your eye gaze on a dristi. Inhale to lift the arms or come to Anjali Mudra or hands to hips. Natarajasana, Dancer's Pose. Begin in Tadasana. With your hand, take hold of the back foot, pressing your thumb into the padding of the big toe. Opposite arm extends overhead as you press your foot into the back hand. Variations here. You may like to straighten the supporting leg. Parshvottanasana, Pyramid Pose. This forward bending action is very intense for the hamstrings of the front leg because of the asymmetry of the pose. You can see the back leg's position directs the flexion more specifically into the front hip joint. Completely fall forward and change the hand position depending on shoulder mobility. Offer options. Parivrita Baddha Parshva Konasana, Revolved Side Angle. We begin in Warrior 1. Lift the back heel and begin to revolve around, using that front arm to leverage and pressing into the outer knee. From here, the chest can cave forward, so it's important we use that top arm and our chin to open up the back shoulder, and this way it stabilizes the shoulder girdle. Option is to take the back knee to Pavrita Trikonasana, Revolved Triangle Pose. Coming out of triangle, pivot the feet so the hips and shoulders face the short edge of the mat. From here, extend the chest forward, opening up, reaching the arms up overhead, or taking that back arm down into the small of the back. Adha Pinsha Mayurasana, Dolphin Pose. From downward facing dog, bring the elbows down towards your mat. Bring your hands to either elbow to help level out the width to protect your shoulders. Then push firmly into the elbows and lift your hips high to create dolphin pose. You may like to walk your feet in a little to increase the intensity. You may like to clasp your hands and draw your head under a little more. You also have the option of lifting one heel at a time to help produce stability through the shoulders. Asana, cat pose. Bring your hands directly under your shoulders and knees under hips. Begin to flex the spine by drawing the tailbone inwards and tuck the chin in. This creates a full spinal extension, helping to stimulate the belly, the kidneys, and the adrenal glands. This can be used also with an extension. If your wrists feel tight or tired or weak, roll up your mat and place the mat underneath the wrists. This will add extra support. Asana, cow pose. Again, start on all fours. Spread your fingers wide, hands under shoulders, knees under hips. Toes can be tucked under or left flat. Draw the tailbone in and draw the chin in at the same time. This creates a great spinal extension. Makaro Adho Mukha Shavasana, dolphin plank pose. From dolphin, walk the feet back to align the shoulders over wrists. Strongly root down through the forearm base and wrap your shoulders. Draw the belly in and then lower the tailbone slightly. Bring your energy up through the crown of the head and through the heels. The option, of course, is taking the knees to the mat. Bhujangasana, cobra pose. This is a symmetrical prone back bend, helping to decompress any tension in the lumbar spine. Press your hands firmly into the mat, squeezing into the glutes and lifting the chest slightly, drawing up through the crown of the head. Phalakasana, plank pose. From downward facing dog, shift your weight forward, aligning your shoulders directly under your wrists. Draw your front body up into the back body, bracing your core gently. Option here is on the knees. Chaturanga Dandasana, four-limb staff pose. Bring your wrists directly under your shoulders, exhaling and coming down halfway. Option, take your knees to the mat. Urdhva Mukha Shavasana, upward facing dog. From a prone position, bring your hands under shoulders and lift yourself up as you inhale to an upward facing dog. Your variations are floating the knees off the mat, pressing into the tops of the feet. Adho Mukha Shavasana, downward facing dog. Bring your hands under shoulders, knees under hips, tucking in your toes, exhaling to lift your hips high. Yield into this position by being gentle on the joints. This is a symmetrical inverted arm support pose, which requires a lot of shoulder strength. Malasana, garland pose. From wide leg forward bend, Heel toe your way in so your feet are about hip distance apart. Begin to slowly lower the tailbone towards the mat. Now this is very dependent on Achilles length and dorsiflexion of the ankle, so work with your own ability here. There are many modifications and props that you can use to feel successful. This amazing hip opener helps to strengthen the pelvic floor muscles, but also helps to release tight, sore lower backs. Ekapada Raja Kopottanasana. Pigeon pose. This great psoas stretch begins in downward facing dog. Slowly bring one knee forward in between the wrists and make any adjustments that you need to feel comfortable here, keeping in mind that no pain is good in yoga. Ask your students to find an option that feels right for them where there is no compression in their joints. Using props here, begin to modify for comfort by asking your students to come back and then go exploring to find that deep centered stretch for their hips. Paripurna Navasana, boat pose. This symmetrical forward bending balancing pose is great for strengthening the back and the core. Begin seated, balancing on the tailbone, lifting your feet gently, then extend your arms away. You may like to lengthen your legs or take your legs down a little lower to really challenge the core. Vastisthasana, side plank pose. This core is more about keeping a neutral spine. So coming forward, lowering the heels to one side, stacking the heels on top of each other, balancing on the wrist and shoulder, keeping the spine neutral. There are many modifications here, so work with your students, their strength and their stability of joints. Knee can come down, arm can raise, leg can raise. You may also like to lower the hip and come down onto the elbow. Salampa Bhujangasana, Sphinx pose. This deep compression of the lower back and sacrum can be very therapeutic for bulging or herniated discs. This posture also stimulates abdominal organs. So always work within the body and work within your own modifications. Take your feet wider if that feels better for your hips, or take your hands further away. Salambhasana, locust pose. Salambhasana helps strengthen back muscles, opening the chest and the lungs. Laying face down with the forehead down, reach back through the tail, rooted down into the pubic bone. As you inhale, lift your legs, lift your feet and your arms. This is great for stress and fatigue. Now beam through the crown of your head, reaching forward with the arms. Dhanurasana, bow pose. Begin laying on your tummy. Lifting one foot at a time, wrapping your hand around the ankle. Then flex your feet, pushing up through the heels and lifting your chest, lifting your chin slightly. This is great as it's a full spinal extension. You can now really beam up through the crown of your head, draw your knees together, or you may like to release one foot and extend the arm, and then of course the other side. Ustrasana, camel pose. From a kneeling position, position yourself with your hips forward slightly. Take your hands into the lower back and draw the shoulder blades together, keeping your chin tucked slightly to protect your neck. Your option here is to raise one arm Or you may like to sweep the hand behind, tucking in the toes, and then squaring the shoulders and the hips forward. If you have enough shoulder mobility, you may like to bring both hands to the back heels. Again, listening to your body and working with your body with every pose. Setubandha Saravangasana, bridge pose. Walk your heels close towards the buttocks. Pressing through the heels, begin to elevate the hips, coming up high onto the shoulders. Walk the shoulder blades together, clasping the hands if available. Here, you're extending the spine and activating the posterior chain. Continue to cue, pressing through the heels to keep the activation strong. Release the hands, walk the shoulder blades outwards, and lowering the spine one vertebra at a time. Matsyasana, fish pose. Walk your hands towards each other, keeping them flat underneath the tailbone. Thumbs can touch each other. Point your toes to activate the legs, squeezing your thighs together to keep the body strong and stable. Begin to slide the crown of the head towards the mat, pressing firmly through the forearms and the elbows. Your variations here are to bend the knees to release any tension from the lower back. Dandasana, staff pose. Sit tall with legs extended and arms close to your side with palms pressing downwards. Continue to activate the pressing down movement through the thighs and through the outer heels with the toes pointing upwards. Use a prop here to help with the posterior tilt of the pelvis. This will help relieve any tension through the hips and the lower back. Variations include twists. Props include blankets, bolsters, or blocks. Janusirsasana, head to knee forward fold pose. With legs extended, slide one foot to the other inner thigh. Inhale as you lift your arms, exhale to tip forward from the hip. Careful not to round the back here, so the stretch comes from the hamstrings rather than compressing the lower back. Here there are many variations. You may like to walk the hands to the left or to the right, or add a slight flexion to the knee to relieve any tension or tightness from behind the kneecap. Remember, there's no pain in yoga. Mariachi Asana 1 or Mariachi 1 pose. From here, begin with legs extended. Draw one knee under the armpit. With your arms, wrap one arm around the supported knee and the other arm to clasp the hands. Use yoga props here. Paschimottanasana, seated forward fold. Extend both legs. Flex your feet. Inhale deeply, exhale completely as you tip from the hip rather than the back. Soften forward as your nose travels in the direction of the knee, being mindful to flex your knees if there is any pain behind the knees. Soften in this beautiful inversion to help release, restore, and relax the body. Using yoga props here is advisable, particularly at the beginning of a class. Yoga Mudra pose. Sit in easy pose with your hands behind, fingers interlaced in Yoga Mudra. Gently squeeze the shoulder blades together and away from the head. Inhale as you roll the arm bones back, and exhale as you tip forward from the hip. Baddha, butterfly pose. From here, place the soles of the feet together, mirroring the feet. Move your heels closer to the groin or further away, depending on what is best for your body. Using your elbows, slide them from the inner thigh towards the knee, creating a little bit of pressure to open up through the hip joint. Parivrtta Sukhasana, simple twist pose. This pose is great as it massages and stimulates abdominal organs. Come to easy pose. Inhale as you lift, exhale as you twist, being mindful to twist from the eyes rather than the lower back. Change sides. Inhale as you lift, exhale as you twist. Ardha Matsyendrasana, half Lord of the Fishes pose. Draw one knee across the other. Inhale the arm, exhale to leverage and lift the chest. As you exhale, turn, but keep your eye gaze low to help keep the nervous system calm. Create a mudra, or if there is any pain in that lower leg, extend that lower leg away. Gomukhasana, cow face pose. From seated Sukhasana, draw one leg across, stacking the knees on top of each other. If this is tight or uncomfortable, loosen this position to suit your body shape. With the arms, using the same side as the leg on top, reaching the arm up and over and clasping the hands behind. Use props here. Salamba Sarvangasana, shoulder stand pose. This pose itself is a symmetrical supine, inverted forward bending pose. Breath may be restricted. From laying position, bring the knees to chest and rock yourself up, taking your hands behind your waist to support your lower back. From here, extend your legs as far as what is comfortable for you, or placing your feet on a block or a prop. Use the arms to press down into the floor to counterbalance this pose. It's quite complex in itself and takes a fair bit of practice. Remember to always work in your body's own natural ability. Supta Pandangustasana, reclining big toe pose. From a laying position, bring one knee to chest, then extend the leg long, pushing up through the heel. With the hand around the knee, the ankle or the big toe, begin to open outwards, keeping both shoulders firmly on the mat. Relax the jaw. Use props here to help support this posture. Use a strap around the foot, keeping the hands close to the foot. Option is to bend both knees to relieve any tension from behind the knees or the back, and then opening the hip, Always use open invitational cueing. Supta Matriyandrasana, one knee twist. Another great one to finish your class with. Draw one knee to chest, squeeze tight to relieve any tension from the lower back, and then draw the knee across the body. Use your back arm to stabilize the shoulders and to increase the intensity of the twist. Take your eyes down the back arm and extend that leg more for comfort. Jatihara Parivata Tanasana, two knee twist. Another great one to finish your class. Bring both knees to chest and rock your knees to one side, opening up the shoulders, turning your head. As you turn your head, always cue, lift the head up and turn to rock. This is better for the cervical spine. Ananda Balasana, happy baby pose. Draw both knees to chest. With your hands, take the outside or the inside of the feet. Draw downwards with the tailbone, taking your heels out wide and then pressing the heels out towards the corners of the room. This gives a three-way stretch through the body, really opening the hips, grounding down through the lower belly and releasing any tightness. Variations include single leg, happy baby,